Good evening. Just before I get started, there's a little bit of housekeeping that I want to cover off, and that's I'd like to thank my parole officer for coming tonight. The management coach. My promise is that I'm going to try and not let it happen again tonight. Actually, I'm a pacifist. I'm a really gentle guy. Yeah, probably because I'm lazy. But if anyone is thinking about heckling, there's a spare chair here, right at the front, because I hate to think I'm going to have to exert any energy or hurt any innocent audience members as I leap off stage to thump you. No, seriously, now that that's out of the way, let me get personal for a second. That time of the month, has anyone suffered it? You know, where everything seems to be going on just, really nicely, and the next thing there's stomach cramps and tossing and turning, you can't say anything right, sleepless nights. That's right, it's time to pay the rent. Actually, I don't pay rent anymore. I've got a mortgage, and I reckon a mortgage is far worse than having to pay rent. At least legally, your landlord can only put your rent up once a year. The Reserve Bank are trying to put mine up every month. And have you noticed that with interest rates, the banks must be having a field day. Everything seems to be going really well for the banks. Interest rates are up, bank fees are up, they're paying bumper dividends to their shareholders. Every time something goes up, like interest rates go up, everything becomes more expensive. I've actually noticed that living in Sydney, everything seems to be even more expensive when you live in Sydney. I actually grew up in Adelaide, and there's someone from South Australia here. They're very proud Adelaideans, actually. No. Growing up in Adelaide, I used to save my $2 coins to buy a house. Actually used to save my $2 coins to play Daytona, the driving game. I came up to Sydney and started to have to save my $2 coins just to use the road. I don't know if any of you have ever driven across the Sydney Harbour Bridge after you've played Daytona. But if you don't get killed in a head-on, those will kill you from getting the data. Now, I do love living in Sydney. I find Sydney to be such an easy city. Lebanese, Japanese, Chinese. As I said, I love Luna Park. I love Sydney, and Luna Park is one of my favourite places. And I've noticed that on the Dodgem cars, the kids are actually better drivers in the Dodgem cars than most Sydney drivers. Actually, I love kids, I'm a father, but I've noticed when I'm talking to my son lately that I find myself saying something out loud and then stopping and going, oh my God, that's something like what my father would say, or that sounds like what my mother would say. It's like, don't make me come over there. Don't make me count to 10. Don't punch this guy in the front row because he's not laughing. No, seriously, I'm a father. I've got a 6-year-old boy, and I'm amazed every day as he grows up just how much like my father he's making me become. A couple of years ago, he was 3 years old, and I found him tapping away on my computer keyboard. And I said to him, what are you trying to do? And he looks up at me and he says, I'm trying to type fuck. And I looked at him, he's 3 years old, and I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm trying to type fuck. I said, do you even know what that means? And he goes, yes, it's like sugar. Nowadays, he's at school and they're learning to read now. And at school they teach the kids to look at the first letter and the last letter and make up the rest in the middle. So to a 6-year-old, the word bumper would actually come across as bummer. Which isn't the worst thing he said. I thought fuck would be the worst thing he said, but they're getting ready for public speaking, and he's reading out, his topic is my family, and he's reading out the cards for the very first time, making up little chief seats, big letters. And he said, my mum was born in Adelaide, which is the capital of South Australia. My dad was born in Armidale, which is a big cunty town in New South Wales. And for any of you who have ever been there, you know he's not far from me. But no, I do love being a father because it's teaching you patience and responsibility, and you actually start looking at things in the world a whole lot differently. Like, you know, you see something on TV and you think maybe differently to when you were singing. I was thinking about those poor bastards when they were trapped down the mine. Actually, I say poor bastards. Eddie McGuire found out that everything cost more in Sydney now when he had to buy their story. You're lying underground, 5 days go past, the conversation would go something like this. Hey Tyler. Yes, Brian? Have you seen Brokeback Mountain?